Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be crocheting these adorable fingerless gloves. These can also be made to be longer if you prefer them to look like those arm warmers. Feel free to do that. But this is a super cute, easy little project. So before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe and check out all my socials. Let's get into some materials. For this project, you're going to need your yarns of choice. I'm going to do a trim with a cute little different color, so if you want to do that, you'll probably need 2 colors. And I used a size 4 yarn, as you can see here. Aside from that, you're going to need a crochet hook, which I used a 5mm hook. And you'll also need a yarn needle / darning needle, a pair of scissors, and that's about it. So let's get into our first row. So first off, we're going to start with a slip knot, and you're going to do that by wrapping our yarn over our finger 2 times, pulling the back loop over top of the first one, and then that second loop, pulling it all the way over our finger and tightening it into a slip knot. Now putting that on our hook, we are going to chain 27. This is how you chain. Just grab your working yarn, pull it through once, that is 1 chain. Now if you want your arm warmers to be a little bit longer than mine kind of go past my wrist and just tuck into my jacket or whatever I'm wearing. So if you would prefer them to be longer, you're going to want to do more chains here, and you can just hold it up to your arm for reference of how long you want it to be. So once you have your chain, we're going to start with our first row, and we're going to be working with half double crochets. So we're going to start with our second chain from the hook. So wrapping our hook once and then inserting the hook into the second chain right here. Then we're going to pull a loop through and then grab another loop from our working yarn and pull through all 3 loops. And that is a half double crochet. So you're going to do another one. And you're actually going to half double crochet across this entire chain all the way down to the end, like so. So you can see a couple more stitches if you're a beginner. So go ahead and half double crochet until you get to the end of your chain. And as you can see, this is our last chain here. So once we've done that, you can hold it up to your arm and see what it's looking like. If that length is good for you, then we will continue. So in order to get to our next round, we're going to chain 1, just like so, and flip our work. So now we're going to continue working half double crochets, and we're going to start with this stitch right here. So skipping the chain and just going into that very first stitch. However, we're going to be working in what's called back loops only. So as you can see, we have a front and back loop of the stitch. So you're going to go into this back half only. So wrapping our yarn, going into the back half of the stitch, we're going to make a half double crochet. So again, going into the next stitch, just the back half or the back loop, make our half double crochet here. So you're going to actually do half double crochets in the back loops only for the entirety of the row. So just like this, working in the back loops only. Go all the way across, and I'll meet you at the end of the round. So as I'm coming up to the end here, as you can see, you're going to make sure not to miss this very last stitch. There is one more right here, and if you miss it, you're going to have your work kind of becoming a triangle. So we want to avoid that and make sure to get this very last stitch in the back loop only. And your first two rows should look something like this. So moving on to row 3, we're going to chain 1 and flip our work just like we did before. And now for row 3, we're going to do just like we did in the last round, and we're going to half double crochet in the back loops only all the way across. And so again, to start, you're just going to skip your first chain, go into that very first stitch you see, and now you're going to continue across with those half double crochets in the back loop only all the way across, and we'll meet you at the end of this row. So as we grab that last stitch here, doing our very last half double crochet, this is what your first 3 rounds should look like. And now you're going to want to basically continue as you are until you have 18 rounds in total. So you're going to continue doing half double crochet in the back loops for the entirety of these 18 rows. And if you need to see how those stitches are done again, or maybe the first and last stitches, feel free to go back and re-watch. So while I am going to continue for 18 rounds in total, you should do whatever number of rows in order for this piece to just about wrap around your hand. So we're only going to do one more row after this to make space for your thumb. So you're going to want to do as many rounds as it takes until the piece goes almost all the way around your hand. So getting into row 19, this is going to be our last row, and it'll be slightly different than what we did before. But first, of course, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. So now we're going to do half double crochet in back loops only, but only for the first 2 stitches. So 2 times. In this very first stitch, half double crochet, and then we'll do one more in the second stitch, and now we're going to cut a tail of yarn. You want it to be fairly long so we have something to work with, but we're going to cut our yarn tail and just loop this yarn through to knot it off. So now, going back to our skein of yarn, we're going to make a new slip knot, just like we did the first time. And now we're going to want to leave a little bit of a gap in this row 19, so we're going to count 5 stitches from where we left off, and we're going to skip them. And starting at the 6th one, we're going to put our hook there. So skip 5 stitches from where we left off, place your hook into the back loop of the 6th one, like so. Now we're going to take our slip knot and place it on our hook. And then we're going to pull that through the stitch, like so. And we're going to go ahead and chain 1. So now, starting in the stitch that we are in, we're going to work a half double crochet into the back loop only, which is what we were already in. So working that half double crochet in the same stitch we were in, you should have something like this. And now we are going to continue our half double crochets all the way across this row 19. So nothing special. I am crocheting over top of my little spare yarn, but alternatively you could just sew it in later. So no need to worry about the specifics of that. You're just going to continue working across until you get to the end of the row. Now you should have something looking like this, and I find that when we sew this up, it stretches perfectly around my thumb. Feel free to add another row if you'd like to have a bigger hole in the same kind of pattern that we did for row 19. But this is the idea of how we're going to turn this into a fingerless glove. So we are going to hold our piece like this with the hole on the left side towards the top, and then we're going to fold it in half like so. So folding the bottom half up, and we've got our hole for our thumb on the left side in the back. We are going to grab our crochet hook and insert it into the rightmost stitch of this front half. Like so. And now we're going to place our working loop onto our hook and actually pull that through our stitch, like so. So now we are going to slip stitch the front and the back halves together. Alternatively, you could sew them together. I always prefer to crochet when I can. And a little tip when you're doing this, if you kind of want to preserve that ribbed pattern, is so insert your hook into the front half and then only catch the back loop of the back half. You can kind of see what I'm using. But you're going to slip stitch like so. And you'll just continue working those slip stitches in, holding your piece, checking to make sure that it's still even as you're going. And you're going to continue until we come to the hole for our thumb. So this will be our last stitch right here. And now we're going to trim our yarn tail off. And just loop that through to knot it off. And you should have your piece looking something like this. So we now just need to slip stitch these last 2 stitches above the thumb hole. So you can count from the left, go to the second stitch from the left, and insert your hook here. So now we're going to yarn over with this tail that we had previously cut off and just pull that through the stitch. So we need to do one more stitch, just going to our very last stitch in the row and make a slip stitch to connect the 2 halves. So similarly, you'll just loop this yarn through to knot it off. And you can go ahead and try it on, but we have an actual hand warmer. So all we need to do is weave in our ends and add this trim if you want. You obviously don't have to because it looks super cute this way as well. But we're going to go ahead and take our yarn needle and weave that loose end onto our needle. Then just weaving the end into our piece to hide the end and also secure it, like so. I just like to find a few stitches, give it a little tug, maybe find a few more. That should be good though, and we'll just trim the remaining end. Now you're going to repeat that process with all of your remaining yarn tails. So now you're going to flip this inside out. I just think the inside of mine turns out a little bit nicer. And again, you can try it on with all the yarn tails gone. And if you don't want to add that trim, then you're done. Definitely looks super cute like this. I might make a second pair so I can just have this white version. But if you're going to add that trim, let's continue. So to start the trim, we're going to take that new color and we are going to make a slip knot with this new color, like so. Now if you look at the top of your hand warmer, you'll probably see these little gaps, these little holes at the top. If not, it doesn't really matter. You can just insert your hook into one of these gaps or at any place in the top of the hand warmer. So now we're going to place that slip knot on our hook and pull it through. Next we're going to chain 2. After that, we're going to insert 4 more half double crochets into the same stitch that you're currently in. So we're going to insert it into the same place that we have our chains coming out of right here and work half double crochets. So your first chain 2 kind of serves as a mock half double crochet. So if you think about it, we'll kind of have 5 in total, but you're just going to do 4 half double crochets after the chain 2. So at that point you should have something looking like this, and we're going to find a stitch between our 2 gaps. As you can see here, we're just going to place it somewhere right around here and we're going to do a slip stitch. And again, I'm crocheting over top of my spare yarn tail, but feel free to just leave it be and sew it in later. So looking to the next gap, we are going to insert 5 half double crochets into that gap. So there's our 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And this is what kind of makes that cute little trim. So I'll go ahead and trim this extra yarn tail that I don't need anymore. But then we're going to slip stitch into the next spot. And then work 5 half double crochets into our next gap. And like I said, if you don't have the gaps like I do, you can just place your hook anywhere, as long as you're doing this pattern of slip stitch, 5 half double crochet, slip stitch, continuing on, and it creates this cute little trim. So repeat this around, 5 half double crochet into the same stitch, then a slip stitch, and repeat it around. I'll meet you at the end of the row when I'm coming back up to where I started. So I've got space for about 1 more loop of the pattern, I guess. So I'll do my 5 half double crochets here. And now I've got this small space, but I'm still going to insert one more slip stitch into the white. And now to finish it off, I'm going to insert a slip stitch into the top of the initial chain that we did for the trim. So right about here works just fine. So now you're going to trim this end and knot it off. And weave in any remaining ends you might have, one or two, maybe more. But at this point, you have a finished fingerless glove slash arm warmer. So you can try it on. Mine looks something like this. It's super cute, super warm as well. And I think it is such a great addition to any outfit. So you will have to make 2 of these, but feel free to go back and rewatch as you're making the second one. But I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that it was easy to follow whether you're a beginner or an advanced crocheter. I think this is a great project for crocheters of any skill level. So with that being said, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and make sure to tag me if you crochet these. I will see you very soon with my next crochet tutorial. Bye guys!